There are a lot of questions in this world that are purely philosophical. These are the questions that just make you think. They don't really have any sort of practical value. One such question is, what if you could live forever? What would you do? Does this question have any practical value? No, not really. But the answers each of us give tells us something about ourselves. And thus we have the premise for the next book on the favorites list, Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This book has become something of a classic elementary reading book. At least I'm pretty sure it has. Elementary school is where I first read it anyway. Tuck Everlasting presents us with this family of four, this very, very simple, down-to-earth family of four who have become immortal. Father, mother, two sons. Nothing altogether special about them except that they will live forever. About 80-some years before our story began, they found this spring, this natural spring coming out of the ground. They all drank from the water, and then over the course of a few years, they found that they had stopped aging and that they were unable to be injured. The protagonist of this story is a young girl named Winnie Foster. Winnie stumbles across the Tucks in the natural spring one day, and so of course they have to take her and explain things to her because she's immortal, and she can't spread the word about this spring because that could lead to serious problems. Because it's every mortal's dream, right? The ability to live forever, never die, never age, never be injured. There are a few things that I like about this book. Probably the one that I like the most is that the immortality itself is really downplayed. They don't go into some long-winded explanation about immortality. It's just, drink this water and you'll become immortal. Bam, that's it. And honestly, throughout the entire book, right up until the very, very end, there's really no proof to suggest that the Tucks really are immortal. They could be making the whole thing up for all we know. But it doesn't really matter with the story. And the other thing I really like about this book is that it looks at immortality from the point of view of 6 different people. 6 characters, all of whom are really well developed and all of whom get their say. First, you've got the 4 members of the Tuck family, father, mother, 2 sons. And the way they respond to their immortality actually kind of reflects the role they play in the family. The father, as the head of the family, has the most cautious and pessimistic approach. He wants to go on living his mortal life and then die like everyone else. He feels that it's unnatural to be immortal like this. In contrast, the youngest son, Jesse, loves immortality. He's really excited about it. He's excited about the opportunities it presents, and he wants to live his extended life to the fullest. The mother, of course, has to take care of everybody, and so she doesn't really see it as a blessing or a curse. She just kind of sees it as a situation that they have to deal with. But probably my favorite point of view, and the one that's probably the most often overlooked, comes from the oldest son, Miles. Miles, kind of like his mother, doesn't really believe that this is a blessing or a curse, just kind of something that happened. And he also believes, like his mother, that they should make the best out of the situation. But he wants to be actively useful with this gift. He hasn't quite figured out what it is he wants to do with his extended life yet, but he knows that he wants to do something useful, something to contribute to society. So whether it be a gift or a curse, he wants to use his immortality as a gift. For all of their differences in the way they look at immortality, all 4 Tucks do agree on one thing. The secret of the spring cannot be allowed to get out. Our antagonist, just referred to as the man in the yellow suit, does not see it that way. He kind of has the next chain of evolution philosophy on the whole thing. He believes that the water should be collected and marketed to people who actually deserve it, i.e., the rich. He doesn't really understand why it's the Tucks who found this spring, because the Tucks don't seem the least bit deserving of it. They're too simple, they're too down to earth, they're too poor. How could they possibly be granted this wondrous gift? And the 6th and final perspective on immortality, of course, comes from Winnie Foster, the 11-year-old mortal girl. Winnie is faced with a choice because Jesse, the youngest son, really would like her to join them in their immortality. And really, her time with the Tucks, she starts to see the Tucks as an actual family. More so than her actual family. And so she's faced with this choice. She can wait until she's 17 years old, same physical age as Jesse, and drink the water and travel the world with him. And by the way, before all you people start screaming pedophilia, pedophilia, it's not like that. It's just that Jesse has become so lonely, he wants somebody to share this immortality with. In fact, all the Tucks kind of see her that way. They're very, very protective of her and very, very loving of her, despite the fact that they really just met her. And it's because they have somebody to take care of again, somebody who is actually a child in their home. But anyway, back to Winnie. Winnie's other choice is to not drink the water, to live a mortal life and eventually die. And the interesting thing about Winnie is that she's indecisive throughout pretty much the entire novel. Like, her perspective oscillates back and forth through the entire thing, much like, you know, an adolescent girl. And even though we never actually see her make that particular decision, she does become more decisive in her love of the Tucks. Enough so that she helps them out at the end. And so Winnie is the one asking the question, what if you could live forever? And the book never really gives us an answer to this question, it just gives us perspective so that we can come up with an answer. And again, the focus of this story is not on the immortality. The immortality is downplayed. The focus of the story is on the characters and how they respond to the immortality. Which makes the story that much better, because stories should be focused around characters. And so the question, like I said at the beginning, is purely philosophical, but it does actually have a practical application in that it tells us something about ourselves and about these characters. Tuck Everlasting is a wonderful piece of children's literature, and it is still on my favorites list. And the next book on the favorites list, another fantastic piece of children's literature, A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. I'm sure my pronunciation of her name is brilliant. See you next time!